system is wrong. It's in desperate need of reform. We went from strange fruit on the poplar tree to being road bumps in inner city streets. It's reminiscent of 1968. Such blatant and outright hate. Chemtrails and systematic genocide. The plan has been enacted nationwide. If his hands were up, why did you shoot? You're an endangered species, black youth. We come from a legacy of kings and queens. But embedded in that lynch letter were tools to break our self-esteem. For his dream, Brother Martin went to the grave. It's so disrespectful to his memory, the way some of us behave. If I love you, my brother, my sister, like you were kin to me, through your lens, would you see me as a friend or an enemy? We're busy fighting each other while there's a bigger war going on. We've been placed on this chessboard, but we're nothing but pawns taking pawns. If he's your brother, why did you shoot? It's nothing but population control, that's the truth.
Where do I start? The protocol on the scene, so I play my part. I'm looking on the screen at this nation's heart. I'm looking at the scenes that they made their mark. And that's savagery. Another bold casualty. The po-po mad at me. They don't care what my average be, or that I read avidly. Actually, their actions speak. I mean, it's so sad to see. Another brother slain, he was black as me. Another old tragedy. Ain't nothing new. We used to that bloodstained residue. We used to that running when the feds come through. We used to be drumming to the sounds of the heavens too. And now, nothing. All I hear is loud suffering. Tell me how I'm supposed to be something. When boom pop cloud was the only percussion. How do you suppose his family function? They don't see him at the family function. When we lost our son and our father. Lord knows how many times I got down on my knees with tears on my eyes and said that our father. Now everybody gotta fight for the cause. With fists in the air, feet tight on the floor. I'm marching for peace and piece of the pie. Cause ain't nobody wanna see a black man thrive. Do anybody wanna see a black man thrive? Do anybody wanna see anybody trying to see a black man survive? And that's why.
On the popular vote, don't win the election. Democracy is a sham. 2016 proved that through the electoral plan. Build a wall, separate, mobilize deep-rooted hate. We took a knee against inequality in the land. We are worth more than three. We are woman and man. Black and beautiful, tall we stand. Plantations, the chain gangs, modern day penitentiaries. The pipeline, mass incarceration, unfair laws to chain men once free. The 13th Amendment had a fail-safe to reintroduce slavery. When the levees broke, we were called refugees in this sweet land of liberty. Underground Railroad, look how far we've come. But get on your mark, we've got more miles to
Good evening. This is the Betrayal of a Nation Happy Hour special, where you will get first reactions from cast and crew following our exclusive screening that just took place. I'm Brandy Webb, the director of Betrayal of a Nation.
Hey everyone, I'm Trina Asidu, the co-producer of Betrayal of a Nation, and we are excited to have you join in on this discussion. Everyone, grab a drink and get ready. If you have a question, please drop it in the comments and we will do our very best to have your questions answered.
Okay, guys, so welcome panelists. We are so happy to have you to join us. Some of you we haven't seen in 4 years. Some of you I haven't seen in over a year. So I'm just really happy that you could join us. And yeah, so let's talk about the film. You guys just watched it. What I'm curious to know is, all of you played your own parts, whether you were actors or being interviewed. And I feel like you guys didn't know the other part. So if you were acting, you didn't know about the interviews or imagine what that might look like. And if you were being interviewed, you probably couldn't imagine what the scripted aspect of it with the actors was like. So how do you feel seeing the whole thing come together? And I'll start with Jason. I'll start with you first.
Well, no, it's what you just said. I mean, there was so much to the film that we had no idea what was going to happen with, and so many aspects of it that were so powerful and so authentic to actually hear from the people that, that lived through these events, to see it all come together like that with the videography and and obviously, no less importantly, I had personally, up until a couple hours ago, had no idea of the narration aspect that you were going to do. So it was almost like watching someone else's movie. It's like, wait a minute, I'm in. Oh, that's me. Okay, I'm in it. But no, it was very entertaining, and it was really great to see it all come together. So nice work.
Thank you. You really did your thing as a defendant for America. I mean, you really argued that case.
Yes, you did.
Tim, how about you?
Well, first, congratulations. I thought it was, really amazing. And it's funny that every time you see something like this on this topic, you're like, well, that's timely. It's timely. You look out in the world and unfortunately, it's always timely. This topic, the subject of the divide in this country. And what was interesting with my character, that he kind of represented hope in a way that he probably never realized white privilege and what that definition is, because I'm still struggling with it. I know I benefited from it. And this is just from over the past couple of years, going inside and trying to figure out what my role has always been unconsciously and how I benefited from it. And what struck me today is that we go all the way back. The research was amazing in this, and the information that was provided, that that there, I felt like my character represented there is hope if he's confronted with the right questions and given time to ponder the answers, that there's a sense of, oh, I never thought of it like that. I never realized that. Yeah, you know, he represents where change has to come from, you know, and all the way up until, not to get politicized or anything, like up to January 6th, I thought we're on the right path, and there's so much work that still has to be done. And I think this piece really demonstrates the history and where we have to go. You know, I didn't realize until watching it how my piece fits into everything and how important everyone's view is. And I don't,
Thank you. And for everyone that's watching, Tim's character was Bobby Smith, and Bobby Smith was an all-American guy. He represents America in a sense, and as you said, Tim, where we need to go, where we need to evolve from, out of.
right.
And if you'd like to talk a little bit more for the audience about your character or about your character work, I would love for you to share.
Well, I wish we could go back and redo it again, you know, just because of the events that have occurred since this all started. But it, this particular character, if the dialogue keeps going, and if he's allowed to go deeper inside to answer these questions and really explore, you know, his own experience, because I think he grew up, oh, this is the way life's going to be. You know, I'm going to go get my education. I'm going to get married. I'm going to have kids. And that's the way it should be. And oblivious to everything else that's going on around him. And now this character, for the first time, I think, is being forced to look at past his own fences around his house into the world, you know, and it really, I think, represents that scene. What really needs to happen is a dialogue needs to continue. I always hate group forums like town hall meetings, especially on topics like this, where I think if it's one individual in a forum where he's the only one of his race or whatever in that discussion, where he doesn't have an ally to grab onto, where he's forced to listen to everyone, the different experiences of other people, and have a one-on-one dialogue with someone and not a group. I don't know if I'm being clear on that, if that's making any sense. I think in a town like this character, he was asked questions and he was just there alone, and he had to answer them and really search inside himself and not hold on to the opinions of other people who have the same opinions of him that he grew up with.
Yeah, I think if I'm not mistaken, what you're trying to say is that this character was forced to look within inside himself and really explore questions that he never once entertained.
Right.
When being put on the stand, on the witness stand, under oath, having to testify and answer these questions honestly about his self, his white privilege, and so on.
Right, right. And I think that if he had allies, he wouldn't have been as honest or go deep inside himself. He was confronted and he was there alone, you know, where he had to face it, you know, face the reality of the situation.
I could definitely see that. Thank you for sharing. And I'd like to hear from some of the rest of you. Tiffany and Professor Obi, you're here. And you guys were also involved, and you guys were part of the interviewing aspect of it, and could you have imagined that this would have been the whole picture?
Well, first, let me just say congratulations. It was definitely more than I could have ever anticipated. If I had a glass of champagne, I would be holding it up to say cheers to you. And I hate I don't have one because this is happy hour, but I will go and have a glass for you after this, and to your team. Just such amazing work. I'm so proud because I, had the opportunity to just talk with you and just hear your story and the struggle and the delays and the obstacles, and you kept going. You made sacrifices. You gave up things. You lived between Carolina and New York, and you had a daughter, and you lost your grandmother, and you kept going. And to me, I'm so proud of that determination. This film, right now, just having this conversation, you know it's powerful when people are trying to talk through and think through what their next step is, like with Tim. But I feel that this film was the epitome of my lived experiences through every era of oppression that you were able to connect. And you did such a masterful job. It was unique. It kept my attention from the very beginning to the end. And a lot of documentaries, it just doesn't do that. It was educational. Even the fictitious part, it gave me a visceral reaction because I've been in the courtroom before fighting for justice for my brother, and we've had outbreaks like that, and we've had to deal with defense folks like the role that Jason played in trying to defend something that's just cut and dry. You definitely made the case, and to connect all these different moving parts together seamlessly is nothing short of amazing. Not to have the big time producers and people backing it, but the community backing something like this. And I feel that this is going to definitely blow up more than you can ever imagine. I'm speaking that into you on today. But you came to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and that's when I knew this was going to be special, because I saw you talking about Black Wall Street on Instagram, and I saw this Betrayal of a Nation, and I said, who is this chick talking about my community, my great-grandmother's community, and she's not going to come to Tulsa and talk to the people? And so I sent you an inbox, and I said, if you're going to talk about Tulsa, Oklahoma, my great-grandmother's community that was burned to the ground, you might want to come and step foot on this sacred land. You may want to come and get proximate to the community and talk to people who's been on the front lines, like you saw Chief Amason and Christy Williams and Counselor Vanessa Hall Harper. And for those of you who are watching, she did just that. Spent her money, came down, she put me to work, and we were able to. So I need to get like a small producer credit for the Tulsa part, but we put things together, and it was just simply amazing what you did. And I'm so proud, because all eyes will be on Tulsa. I believe that Tulsa, Oklahoma, and the massacre that took place is just a microcosm of what's happening in America, and just a continuation of what happened almost 400 years ago. And for me, like I said, this is the epitome of my lived experience, knowing that I come from, I'm a descendant of people from Africa. My great grandmother's community burned down during the Jim Crow era, and then my twin brother being shot and killed with his hands in the air, and that music just resonated with me. Terrence Crutcher, by a white police officer who got her record expunged, got back pay, got her job back, was acquitted when the jury even said that she should never be a patrol officer, to my brother being locked up for 18 years, still in prison right now for a nonviolent crime because of the war on drugs. This is my story. And to include Tulsa and to continue to help us put a spotlight on what's happening in this country, I appreciate it so much. But what I've never seen in a film or a documentary are solutions. You offered solutions as to what we can do as community members, what the federal government can do, what Congress can do to act to make sure that this doesn't happen again. And I appreciate that, because those are all of the policies that we're on the front lines fighting for day in and day out. And you gave us hope at the end. You gave us hope at the end, and you honored the lives that were lost. And so, job well done. Kudos to you. And again, I'm so extremely proud of you. Thank you so much for allowing us to be involved in this project.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. When you told me I need to come down there, I said, say no more. And I jumped on a plane and I came out there, and you were a wonderful host. You showed me around, you introduced me to all the important people that that live there that I needed to speak with. And so without you, the Tulsa piece would not have been what it now is. And so I definitely appreciate you and everything. And so I'm more than happy, that you hit me up that day and told me, get your butt out to Tulsa.
And I just would want to say, just all respect to Professor Obi and the work that you've done just, over the years. So kudos to all of you all.
Thank you.
Professor Obi.
Oh gosh. I have to just say how much I'm so filled with pride of, so proud of you, Ms. Webb, and so proud of you, Ms. Trina, and the work that you've done. And I've known, as Dr. Crutcher said, the struggles that you've had, and you called me and we talked through, and, it's just so many things, that we've talked about, and to see what you've done. And it's very difficult, Dr. Crutcher, to come behind you, as you talked about how she laid everything out in this strategic, organized way that made sense, and these smooth transitions, and, that took us on a journey. I'm filled with pride. The music, we had conversations about the music and how the music just kind of flowed, and just some of the sound effects and that just really enhanced your great story and your great documentary. And I've been a part of this and kind of been with you on this journey, but to see the whole thing tonight, my heart is just full. I think that this is a very, very special piece of work that you've put together. I think that it's so important that it be seen in a wide kind of manner for many, many people to see. I think, a lot of the things, me as a scholar of communications, African American studies, it's familiar to me. It's not familiar to a lot of people, and people need to know these stories. And again, the way you have massively put them together to flow from the enslaved experience of our people to bring us all the way to Black Lives Matter. And we don't even know, we just along for the ride and just absorbing it all. It's like, we don't even realize this great journey that we're going on until we're like, whoa, here I am here. I'm so proud of you, Ms. Webb, and I love you so much. And I'm just so proud and I'm really amazed, as I think about all that you had to do to put all this together. The logistical things, the raising money, and like Dr. Crutcher said, with a child, you've done all these things, and now you've put together this masterpiece in my mind. And to be a part of it, I'm so proud just to be even a small part of it. I'm just overwhelmed with pride and happiness and excitement on what it's going to be, and who's going to see it, and the response you're going to get. I just really believe that. And I'm excited to see it, you know, and to be a part of it. And again, you know, I remember you in my classroom all those years ago. We won't talk about how long it was because we want people to think you're like really young, and we don't want people to think I'm too old. but you know, from the brilliance that you had back then, and to see, you know, what you've done come to fruition, it just makes me proud to be, you know, a part of your life, because you know we're special close beyond any documentary. You know what you mean to me. Miss Trina, I love you. And, you know, I know that as you are partnered with Ms. Webb in what you all are doing, this important work, you know, I know that she's got somebody that's got her back and is keeping her straight and being honest with her. And, you know, what you all are demonstrating as young women, you know, to our culture, and what you can do if you work hard and you do the research and do all the things that you've done. You know, I'm just amazed that you were able to do it to the level that you did it. But I'm so proud. I'm not surprised, but it's just to see it. I'm just filled with excitement, filled with pride, filled with happiness, and just filled with love for you all. And again, as from the beginning to whatever it's going to be, whatever I can do to support you, you know I'm here. You know that. And I'm just proud to be your old teacher.
Yes, I appreciate you so much. You've been a mentor to me, and you've been more than a small part of this process. You know, like I was able to call on you, lean on you. I was able to say, hey, can you help me cut this down? So, you know, I definitely appreciate you and your guidance as well. So thank you for that.
My privilege.
And Rashida, so you played a part in this film, in the post-production process of, you know, helping to cut this down, because initially this film was probably about maybe 3 hours long. And I said, Rashida, I need help cutting this thing down. Help me out. Take a look. Let me know what you think. And so to see it from where it began to see where it is now, what are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I just can't even, I'm speechless at how proud I am of you and Trina. Like, y'all are trailblazers. And as I said to you earlier today, this is a type of film that no one's ever seen before. This is a documentary that allows people who, Black people who, you know, this is their true lived experience, right? White people who can identify and sympathize with Mr. Smith, who Tim plays, and see a world where America actually deals with issues that, you know, it caused, right? And see how it plays out when a lot of the issues are brought to the table and they're held accountable for the things that they say to be against true American values. And you do it so effortlessly. And again, as Miss Tiffany said, with solutions. When have we ever seen a documentary that actually, like, you know what? I got an app for that. You know what I mean? Like, we got a plan and here it is. And it's just it's so refreshing to see that. I loved watching this documentary, even the extra stuff. And I know you had to sort of kind of like squeeze it out, make it a bit more concentrated and more concise. And honestly, if it was 3 hours, I would still watch it. It's riveting. There's things in there that it forces you to look at it, right? Because it's so, the feeling you get of seeing new images that you've never seen before, it's just, you're forced to look at it, but you don't want to turn away because it's it's your ancestors' life story, and it's something that you need to sort of take in so you can actually have a plan to move forward. So this is just, it's a much needed film, and I'm so proud of you for sticking through and doing this work. This is such a treasure, and I'm just so proud of you.
Thank you. I really appreciate you. I appreciate everybody here on this panel this evening. And Robert Lambert, Mr. Executive Producer. So I would just love to hear your thoughts. I believe you read about the production and during the fundraising process, and then you involved yourself in that way. So could you have imagined that what it is now is what it came to be based on what you read when we were in the pre-production phase of things?
Actually, let me start by saying congratulations. And myself, the wife, and my daughter, we sat down and we watched it. And I would just tell you, from when I actually started, as far as with the GoFundMe, and actually read from what you just mentioned earlier, and having watched, I would have never thought it would have been what we just actually witnessed. I would tell you that I learned, like some of the other panel members just mentioned, we learned, because we was just sitting here just how you literally went back and brought that history forward to match it to today. Words just cannot even explain it. It was really amazing. I learned so much just by that, because I literally thought when this was going to be done, I thought it was going to be okay, probably something with the, now with today's, what's going on in today's society, probably no more 10, 15 years ago, something. But how you brought it back, from going back, and you literally put all kinds of sources and things to it. It was really, really, really fascinating and wonderful. We really enjoyed it. And I tell you, I already told all my families, hey, pre-order. It was really good. So to you and Miss Trina and the cast, the cast were just awesome. They were really wonderful and just awesome, and we really enjoyed it. So I'm just in awe. Really, 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 congratulations to you all.
Thanks.
So there was a scene, an outburst in the courtroom, and we all know how much that's frowned upon. But I wanted to talk about that scene because I feel like it added a human aspect, to the courtroom scene in particular. And I just want to say also how proud I am to be a part of this film as a producer. I remember when Brandy came to me with the idea and the way that this movie evolved, adding herself in it as the filmmaker and looking at it from that perspective and bringing that human aspect to it. When she came to me with that idea, it made me connect even more, because I said, yeah, like that's what's missing. Before it was just simply the courtroom scenes and all the interwoven interviews. And we kept having many, many, many discussions. And when she came with the idea of adding the filmmaker, looking at it from the filmmaker's perspective, like I felt like that was gold. And so I just want to say how proud I am to also see it come together in this way from where it came from. But I wanted to talk about the outbursts in the courtroom. And I wanted to just start with anyone, Rashida, would love your opinion on how that scene resonated with you. And then Jason, how it resonated with you as the prosecutor or defender, actually, defending the United States, and as an actor, how that scene resonated.
Well, I'll go ahead, Rashida. You can start. She called on you first.
You go first, since you're definitely in it.
Well, I think that scene, I mean, when it was shot, with an outburst in the courtroom is something that when it's dramatized, sometimes that pulls you out of the reality because that's not something that you would normally see in a setting like that. And I think that when the scene was done, you did not want to do it in such a way that it just seemed like it was done for dramatic purposes. You really wanted, I think, as I was looking at it, because if you remember when it was shot, we did it a number of different ways, and shot him, and then I wanted him there giving me the lines during my reaction on this. And my counterpart was not necessarily as prepared to do that, to face me as I was reacting on this. And he had to improvise at times, and it made it all the more real. So you actually had this going on. And it was one of the turning points in the script for my character, to have that proximity to someone who was so fueled by an event that had happened, and it was a real wake-up call. From that point in the defense attorney's arc, you really get to a point where you're starting to question, well, I have a responsibility to do my job and defend my client, but there's a lot of stuff here that really is going to be hard to defend. And from that point, his options kind of go down. Way I saw it.
We're losing your sound there.
You're losing me? Can you hear me?
Now we can.
All right. All I was saying was, from that point in the script, it's a different journey, because you're starting to see it from the standpoint of having a real wake-up call that serious things have happened here, and you're going to have to defend some stuff that really there was no defense for.
And can I just say, I feel that every Black person in America can relate to that young man. Every Black person in America probably had that visceral reaction. And it was just so real, even though that, those were actors, but that's our life, that's who we are. And so it was definitely a powerful, powerful scene there.
And then from my character, even in my life, that's something he didn't witness it. He wasn't in the courtroom, but if he had, it'd be something that he had probably never seen before. And if anything, he would have either read it in the newspaper that was on the 8th page, or he overheard something. It would be something that he would never experience before. And if he had, that would add more to him questioning, what else is going on, outside of his world. It's a strong scene for to witness, to watch.
Thank you, Tam. Rashida?
When I think about that court scene, what hits me is that it's not too far away from how it is when someone is being murdered in the street. A Black man is being murdered, and the people who have to, come up with people who tend to come up with reasons for why it's not necessarily a crime, right? So when George Floyd died, there were justifications for his death. And I think in the courtroom scene, the gentleman that's defending America is like an individual who's been able to benefit from the system, and who's been coddled by the system, and now has to deal with that crossroad of, do I give up those liberties for the sake of being right, for the sake of being righteous and true to what the reality is, or do I just stay comfortable? And that's how I see that fight. So when I see that courtroom, it's a representation of the different bodies that live on this land, right? The different people and groups who either benefit or who are either tormented by a system that lies to everyone. So it for me, that it's more of a crescendo of the moment where we could actually change how we see things. So when Tim's character is being confronted in that way, he is saying, yeah, I like, I like having the things that I have, but you could actually in that scene see the switch. There's a switch that happens with Tim's character where he's like, well, oh yeah, that actually does suck what's happening. And so Tim has a chance to say, you know what, I want to go against that, or I'll just stay in my little world. So these types of films, I think, these opportunities for people to see that, to see representations of that, long overdue. We need to see more of that.
And there's going to be
Can I jump in there?
opportunities for conversation. Go ahead, Councilor Hall Harper.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That scene resonated with me too, just as an elected official. And basically, I'm repeating what was just said, but it was just that acknowledgement of your privilege and how so many white people, they get offended. They show that white fragility when the facts, when questions are posed in that manner. Right, I do it in my capacity as an elected official, and I also teach American federal government at our local community college, and it's amazing to me how I'm looking at these young people. Some of them are in high school, and some of them are just young adults, and when you pose questions in such a way in these situations, just like what was posed in that courtroom, it's like they some of them receive it. Some of them are quiet, but they're definitely thinking about it. And some of them, and it's normally a white male who's angry, who raises up and says, well, no, that's not right, and blah, blah, blah. And so you just keep posing those questions. You keep posing those questions and having the discussions. So much so one gentleman emailed me and said that he felt like, I was attacking him, and I apologize because that's not what I was doing, but I know that it was his white fragility, right? When you have to deal with the facts of what happens and what has happened in this country, and how there are the privileged and the disenfranchised. And when you question that, and you question, well, I just worked hard. No, yeah, you may have worked hard. No one is saying you didn't, but you also, as Chief has said to our mayor, he said, would you rather walk into a bank and ask for a loan as a Black man or as the white man that you are? And he couldn't even answer the question because the question was so obvious. Obviously, I want to walk into a bank as a white man to apply for a loan versus a Black man. And so that resonated with me on so many levels. And so it was just that acknowledgement of white privilege, and it came through. It really shone through without him really saying it. Mm-hmm. It really shone through. So that was a powerful segment for me.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. We were talking also about the outburst scene. How did that resonate with you, the young man that had the outburst? Do you want to have any?
May I respond to that?
Sure.
I thought that was important. And the reason I thought it was important is because, we particularly, like if talk about a second about today, we talked about Tamir Rice, Eric Garner, and we can name after name after name after name after name of these people who have been, murdered. And if you go back, you think about what our ancestors went through. And I think with the outburst of the young man, what it does is humanize the situation for our families. You think about it, you're not thinking about, you don't think about how people were affected when their family members were taken away or murdered or raped or this or that. Historically, you bring it up to today, this young brother in the courtroom kind of says, okay, this person had a family, had a brother, who loved him and cared for him, and it's like, I think a lot of these police, in my opinion, I really don't think they look at Black folk as human. They really don't. They feel like, okay, we can kill this person. Nobody's going to be affected. They don't think about how their family's going to be affected. And I think when you show the outburst, it really shows a family member who's just, overwhelmed and wrought with emotion because of what happened to his brother and want justice for his brother. I think about, and one other thing, Ms. Webb, I think we might have talked about this at one point. The gentleman in New York whose son was murdered, he spent his whole life trying to find justice for his son. That story really touched me, and then he dies, and never sees justice for his son, and I think not only like the dramatization in the courtroom, but also the real life story of this man who lost his son. It demonstrates that we have families, we have love, we have caring for our families, we nurture our families. So, you as a white person, obviously, if somebody kills your family member that you love, you're going to be affected, and we're affected the same way because we love our people too. It's another thing, and I don't want to go on and on, but I remember talking to a friend of mine who was from West Africa, who lives in Washington, D.C. We were having a conversation about some of the stuff, and he was saying this whole notion that African people just wanted to give their people away. They didn't care about their people being kidnapped, that they just kind of willingly gave their people away. He said, that's bullshit, is what he said. He said, people grieved for their people who was stolen. And he goes, again, you got this whole manner of passing stories down orally, the oral tradition of communication. They tell the stories of how people were broken because their members were taken away, never to be seen again. And this whole notion that Africans just didn't care about their people, I think that really, again, spreads to today. We care about our families getting shot. We cared about the folk on the plantation. When, after the Emancipation Proclamation, many people looked forever, the rest of their lives, trying to find lost family members. Some of them never found their family members. We love our people. And I think, again, I'm sorry to go on like this, but I think you really demonstrate, that whole notion that we love our families. This brother was broken because his brother was murdered. And I think that's how I feel about that dramatization. I think it's very important.
Thank you, Professor Obi. And Counselor Vanessa Hall Harper, you came in after the introductions, and one of the initial questions that I asked the roundtable, watching the film tonight, you were a part of it, you were interviewed, you never got to really know about or see the scripted aspect of the film. So seeing it all put together, is this anything like you could have or like you would have imagined?
No, I was pleasantly surprised by it. I'm a political science pre-law major. I wanted or had planned to go into law, but several things changed my mind on that. But law is something that is near and dear to my heart. And so when I saw that it was played out or narrated in the courtroom, I really loved that idea. When I first tuned in, I was like, oh man, this is going to be good, So I certainly appreciate that. And I thought it was just a really intelligent way of explaining and addressing the life of the African in America, in its plight, in our plight, and our disenfranchisement, to put it in the place of a courtroom of asking citizens to decide, is America guilty or not guilty? I thought that really set a great tone, and I think it really is impactful. And so I'm excited to see this go public and see the the pushback that I'm sure it's going to bring to some. But I love that idea. Whoever came up with that, kudos.
Thank you for that response.
Ms. Webb, Dr. Crutcher was saying that she wished she had a glass. I have one. So if everybody's got a glass, let's raise a glass to this wonderful work that these young women have done, and applaud their greatness and celebrate what they're going to do, the great things they're going to do, and hear.
Hey, hear. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that is a perfect way to transition into our trailer that we are going to show. But before we do that, I also just want to thank you, Counselor, for being a part of this project, because every time I watch your parts, I'm like, yeah, I'm like, unbossed, unbought. That's her right there. All right, we're gonna.
I knew we were gonna get a curse word out of her. I told you that. I pre-warned you. I pre-warned you.
When I heard it, I was like, ooh, I said that, didn't I? I'm sorry. When you ask me questions like that, I just got to be real. Yeah.
I love that part, by the way.
I try not to do that.
And it never works.
Come on, Tiffany.
All right, we are now showing the trailer for those of you that are watching.
They did not see Black people as human. The whole goal to have these people here was to build this country.
Today, you will see that the U.S. has never intentionally harmed anyone, and the history of events have been dismissed.
Today, I will prove, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that the defendant has indeed committed the crimes charged, as well as many more atrocities which have deeply affected citizens.
Jim Crow laws were stated as separate but equal, but we know that they were separate and not equal. The state has invested more than $1 million in incarcerating people.
It was not about suspicious people, but about Black people, Latino people. We've always been presumed guilty and dangerous.
How can we say that all lives matter? Well, Eric Garner can be choked on camera, and the officer who did it could get a pay raise.
He said, I can't breathe 11 times. Policing is a responsibility of state.
The way they move when they see a threat like a Malcolm, but with that infrastructure already set up, all they had to do was like change the direction to target these Black organizations.
Conspiracy, stalking, harassment, aiding and abetting.
And then they moved to the next stage, which is the physical assassination. They were determined to lynch Dick Rowland that night. After the massacre, we were charged, and not one white person was charged.
Arson, fraud, false imprisonment, assault with a deadly weapon.
Yes, this nation has its flaws, just like any place else, but no other place values freedom the way America does.
They make shit up. America has to right its wrongs.
People are still being denied rights, still being held in cells without cause, still being treated differently because of income, gender, or race.
Reparations are absolutely needed.
This is all still happening.
Solutions to the violence creation. Where else on the planet can the people take their own country?
All right. I love watching that trailer. So as we come to a close, I would like to ask each of you to give us 3 words that you think sums up Betrayal of a Nation. And I'll start with Tiffany. Three words that come to mind.
Hope, dream, one day I too have a dream that we will get that guilty verdict for Black people in America.
Thank you. Rashida?
It's about time.
Yes. It is definitely about time. Professor Obi.
Important, because again, it's very important for this story to get out there. Innovative. Nobody's ever sold the story together the way you all did. Nobody's ever done this before. And inspirational that this knowledge and this history is going to get out to the masses.
Thank you. Jason.
Long overdue.
Yes, definitely. Miss Vanessa.
Truth, power, and revolution.
Absolutely. Mr. Timothy Walsh.
Insightful, honest, and hope.
Thank you. Robert.
I would say awesome, inspiring, and dedication.
Thank you so much, Robert. And there you have it, all the many reasons why you should tune in and watch Betrayal of a Nation. Thank you all for participating in the Betrayal of a Nation Happy Hour Talkback. It was so nice to hear your thoughts on the film. To everyone who's tuned in on Facebook, thank you for joining the discussion. We will answer any of your questions that were not answered during the show.
Yes, and Betrayal of a Nation does premiere to the general public on February 26th. That is next Friday, so rent your copy now at betrayalofanation.com. We are closing out the last weekend of Black History Month with a focus on accountability, education, and motivation.
Yes.
Woo!
All right.
Good night, Facebook.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.
Good night.
Good night.
Fantastic. Great work.
Good night.
Oh,
Congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Black girl magic.
everybody.
Congratulations.